what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
We'll try not to like too much talk over each other, but again, we are girls and we are
agree to disagree.
Okay,
Moving on.
well, the makeup bottle. It's like a cracked out T-bird, some grease.
Yeah, I can
You
see
know,
that.
she's got that black hair.
Welcome to ChickChat, your favorite guilty pleasure on the Mesh.tv podcast network. Thank you for joining us. Today, it's me, Mary-Margaret, with my favorite friend across the country, Janette. How you doing, girl?
I'm good. How are you?
Hanging in there. It's a peak of summer. I don't know what the temperature's like where you are, but we're actually having some warmer weather out here in Washington State.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it is hot. It's very hot. It's been hot since I think the sun got up this morning. So,
Yeah. Well,
you know what it's
how's
like on these parts. So.
Yeah, girl, how's that going with, the pandemic, the ever-pressing topic that still is part of our podcast?
Well, it's going. I don't think you would know it was a pandemic by the way people are hanging out. But, I do see a lot of masks, so that's good. Our school is going virtual to start, and then we'll see what happens late fall. But yeah,
Okay.
I mean, pandemic is a pandemic.
When does school start?
August 17th, which is actually early for where I live. They normally start the last week in August. So then they'll go that whole week and then they'll have Labor Day and then they'll come back.
Yes.
They're actually starting 2 weeks early. And I don't know if that's due to COVID, but they do get out earlier. So they're starting early and they'll get out early June.
Right.
So, yeah.
So virtual to start and then they'll reassess.
Yeah. So virtual for right now, the first 9 weeks. So the first quarter.
Okay.
And then, so that'll put us until October and then I think a break. And then they'll assess whether they'll come back from break in school or still virtual.
Okay.
Some teacher friends I've talked to are pretty resigned to the fact that they think we'll be virtual until January at least, but you never know.
Yeah. So how does your daughter feel about this? She's the only one of your kids that is school age, correct? So how does she feel about all this?
So initially, she wasn't excited because she was, thinking it was going to be like it was at the end of the year where they kind of threw virtual learning together and said, this is what we're going to do. They really weren't prepared. I mean, how do you prepare for a pandemic, right?
Right.
So, so they're actually doing it a little bit different this time where it's actually going to be teacher-led via video. And so she's more excited about that. She wasn't excited about the learn on your own, do assignments and turn them in part.
Yeah.
She's very much a hands-on learner, needs to be in class, needs to have examples and do examples and be able to ask questions. So she was really hoping to be back in school, but she's okay with as long as there's an actual class that she's attending online. She seems to be more excited about it now than she was before.
Yeah, so now it will actually probably entail a longer days, maybe not longer compared to normal school, but longer than the work assigned at the end of last year, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so it's going to be, the last word we've been informed is it's a normal school day. So they'll be expected to be logged on and in class at normal school time. Attendance will be taken and then classes will start. And I think the classes are supposed to be 45 minutes each. They're even doing art and, the extra classes, the specials that they call them specials. They're actually doing those online as well. So they'll continue to have that. I don't really know how or if they're doing gym, but I imagine they'll figure that out. But
That could be funny. I mean,
I think
like,
art's going to be interesting. But
yeah, right. I mean, what about like music? We have music still out here, I mean, I don't know. That'll be interesting. I mean, bravo for the school systems getting this structure and organization. It's it's so mind-blowing to me, like how this is all going to work, right? It's just one of these, I guess we just got to see how it goes.
yeah, are your girls starting virtually? Are they going to school?
We do not know yet. We
Okay.
don't go back until 1st of September.
Okay.
So they have not announced it formally yet, as to how it's going to start. We should hear probably mid-August as
Okay.
to what the plan's going to be. We've done just like across the country. I know I've heard a lot of people doing this they send out parent surveys about what are you going to do and how would it work, and do you agree with this part or this part? So we've filled out all the surveys, we've done all our work, but we're just waiting to hear now. So, they told us the options were going to be, obviously the goal in the long run for everyone is to be in school full time. But I just don't foresee that happening. But then they have set up a virtual academy through like a local online academy resource. And so I know that that's going to be one option. If you choose to go full virtual, you have to do it through this academy. But the school system is also saying that their option would be, if you chose to do it within the school system, that it would be half and half. So it'd be like a hybrid model of maybe as a week long of half the students, and then they swap. And so every other week you're actually in school, and then the other week you're virtual. I don't know, but that's what they alluded to at the beginning. But obviously, as we know, things change every day. So
Yeah, that's similar to the options we had in place. So we have the virtual academy, and we know some people who will be doing that. And virtual academy is actually separate from our school system. It's its
yes,
own. It's its
same
own.
here.
Yeah, it's its own system of learning. So it's almost like homeschool,
Yes,
but it's the virtual academy. But those kids still have the option of going back to their homeschool. They just have to notify them if everything works out and we're back in school full session. So they've made some concessions there. And the option on the table was similar to what you're describing. It was half and half, where there'd be two groups. So K through 5 would go 5 days a week in school. And
yes,
then 6th through ninth grade would do, they'd be broken out into two groups. And group A would go Monday, Tuesday, virtual learning Wednesday through Friday. And then group B would be virtual learning Monday through Wednesday, in school Thursday and Friday. And then
yeah.
10th through 12th grade would be all virtual.
Ugh,
So that was the original plan. And
yeah.
then they've just modified it to everyone, all grade levels, virtual first 9 weeks, then we'll reassess. So they may go to that hybrid in 9 weeks. The actual private schools here are starting full on in school on their, I don't know when they start. It's not the same day as it may be the same day, but I don't, they're on their own. Again, they're on their own. They're not managed by the county school system. So, but
And I'm
they're all
assuming that's
going
because
full time.
they're probably smaller class sizes and stuff,
Yes.
right?
They
Yeah.
are, but interestingly, we have some friends whose kids attend private school, and we know some people who actually work at a couple of the private schools in the area, and they've seen an influx of applications.
Uh-huh.
So, yes, they typically have smaller class sizes. They are expecting those to be larger.
Yeah.
They've made some plans for that, but yeah, they are going to have more people, because more people, it's hard for people who work to say if they're having to go back to their school, or they're having to go back to their office, or even if they're at home, so they're opting for private school over not sending their kid to school in session in school for
Yeah.
now. So I guess we'll see how it works there too. It's almost like they're going to be a guinea pig, but again, they have the room and the class sizes because they have a cutoff where they say we're not accepting everybody. We'll only accept X number of students.
Sure.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works. We actually
Yeah.
considered it because my daughter was adamant that she was like, I need to be in school. I'm so scared that my grades are going to suffer. But
Yeah.
when she found out about this, she goes, okay, well, I can try it for 9 weeks.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting all the way around. I've got friends in North Carolina that I've spoken with. Of course, you guys have plans in place, and it's per district and per school system. And there's multiple school systems in most counties, and when they're in the same county but they're doing a different thing, like a different way of schooling, it's going to be interesting to see, because I've got one friend in particular who she lives in one county, and her children go to a school system based on where she lives, but she works in the same county but in a different school system.
Okay.
And so therefore she's on a different schedule than her children are going to be on.
Right.
And that it's frustrating to her, understandably so. But I know that there's going to be that type of situation throughout, right? Like there's just going to be those type of circumstances. And I just, what a glorious time to be alive, right?
Yeah. And it's frustrating, I know, for my teacher friends, because they're still in the dark. It's not like every single one of them is going to be doing virtual learning. They don't know what that looks like yet. So, there's a potential that all the teachers won't be needed, or won't be asked to lead the virtual sessions.
Right.
So what does that mean for them? Right.
I just don't even understand the logistics, like of how they make it work. I mean, again, props to school systems for figuring this stuff out, and the amount of work that has to go into it is just mind-blowing. But I mean, the changing classes, and how you have different teachers that once you get older to different things and stuff like that, it's gonna be interesting how that all works. Plus, I look at my youngest, who is going into the 4th grade. I sat there and listened to some of their Zoom calls that they had for at the end of last year, and it's just pure chaos. Not unmanageable, but they're 3rd graders, like they're excited to see their friends on the computer screen, and for a lot of these kids, they're getting to use the computer by themselves for the first time. So they wanted to talk to each other. They wanted to do the stuff that they would normally do, like during recess. And the teacher was constantly, having to say, like, okay, guys, let's regroup and get back to this and get back to this and all. And it's, I've been very lucky that I have children that are able to pull it off. They did well with it at the end of last year, but no telling how the structure is going to be this year. And, and here's something, it's super, super petty, right? This is by no means a big concern. I'm putting that out there right now. But like, my youngest has been a little concerned because one of her favorite things at the end of summer is always finding out who your teacher is going to be the next year. And like the excitement of having this new teacher, and possibly what are your friends, which of your friends is going to be in that class and stuff. And then she loves, she's always loved going in and she loves her teachers. She likes going in and always getting to know them and figuring out their personality and stuff. And it's like, she's more than likely going to be starting off the year meeting her teacher for the first time over the internet. And, I think that, again, is super petty. That's of no concern, but yet it's kind of bummer, that you don't get that sort of first day stuff and, wearing your new school outfit or something. And I don't know.
Fixing your desk up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, you think back to when you were in 3rd and 4th and 5th grade elementary school in any age, like that stuff was a big deal, right? Like getting the new school supplies and taking it to school and realizing where your cubby is and which friend is sitting close to you and who you get to talk to at lunch and all those things. Like, that's kind of the bummer of all this stuff, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
it is what it is. And, I kind of keep telling my kids, and I feel confident in this, and is that I keep telling them, like, look, this will not be the way it is forever. Like,
Right.
I know things are going to look a lot different in the world moving forward from here on out. I get that. Like, everybody's going to take things a little more seriously when it comes to washing your hands and all that other stuff. But this is not going to go on forever. There will be a vaccine at some point. There will be. I can't tell you when. I don't know how long, but there's going to be, and then things will start to evolve back to normal. Like, no one's goal, I firmly believe, in the school systems is to make this a permanent solution forever and ever and ever.
Right.
So I keep trying to reassure the girls that, right? Like,
Yeah.
girls, just bear with it a little bit because it's not going to be like this forever.
And we are fortunate because, our kids are good kids and they're self-learned, they're able to sit down and do this with minimal help. We
That's
get them
right.
started, but
thank goodness, 'cause math's
self-reliant,
hard.
they can get on it. I do feel bad. I understand the argument of there's going to be kids who fall behind potentially because they just don't have the parental support.
Yeah.
Parents who normally be like, yeah, go to school for 6 and 7 hours. That's fine. And the kids get what they need during that time.
Yes.
I do feel like maybe taking attendance is helping address that somewhat, but not really. Right. So, we are coming from a different place than some people who are really stressing not being able to go back to school. And I get it. I'm fortunate not to be in that situation, and my kid is fortunate not to be in that situation. And I do feel for those kids who are going to, stress a little more. Maybe anxiety is going to be a little bit higher. Maybe they won't get the food and love and support that they need.
Yeah.
But hopefully, yes, we can turn a corner, get back to normal. And, my husband and I were discussing this today. It's going to get back to, quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes, normal at some point. It will look differently. It will feel differently, but we'll get used to it. This isn't the first time the country or the world has been faced with this. We know that about the Spanish flu in 1917?
Sure.
A long time, over 100 years ago. And they got back to a somewhat, their world probably looked different, but it got back to normal. This won't be the last pandemic that we have to adjust to. It's just
our producer Moose just chimed in that it was 1918. Jeanette,
okay.
Just get it right.
Get it right. I knew it was. I was in the right era, right? So, So I mean, it'll happen again where we'll be faced with something that we're not used to, and we have to adapt. We have to learn, but it's also going to take people being a little bit selfless, right? So, if we got people out there not wanting to do the things that are needed or to get past this, it's going to be longer before we get there.
Yeah.
So we just have to remember that. And I get everyone's argument. You don't want to be told what to do, but you also want to be able to do things. So take a couple months, take a couple weeks, stay at home, wear a mask, wash your hands. Don't go out when you're sick. Don't go to a party with 100 people that you don't know and that haven't been quarantined. And then maybe we can get back to the where you want to be sooner rather than later. But
that's right.
The longer we prolong doing the necessary actions, the longer it's going to take. It's just like you tell your kids, do it now, get it over with, or wait, and then you'll have twice as long twice as more to do. So,
well, it's we've told our children it's a lot like the rule that we all learned very early on in school is that all it takes is for one person to break the rules to ruin it for the whole class. It's like that with this. The more people that are breaking the rules, and I'm using rules as a general term. It's not a rule. I get it. But the people that aren't following those rules are ruining it for everybody, right? So that's the approach we need to take. let's just all do this so we don't have silent lunch forever.
Right. Nobody likes silent lunch.
Nobody likes silent lunch. Nobody wants to miss recess. Let's all band together and wear your damn mask.
Yes, and I need my kids to get outside, please.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you know, and I don't care how good your student is, how good your kid is at finishing their work and doing their stuff on their own virtually at home. There's a lack of socialization and day-to-day living and life skills that are learned in schools, whether it's private school, public school, whatever it may be. There's a level of things that they're missing out on. So I'd like to get back to a somewhat modified, as soon as possible, new way of doing things.
That's right.
So that's our goal in this household for sure. So yeah, we'll just see. It's coming up quick. School's going to be starting for you guys sooner than later. I mean, you got a couple more weeks left, right?
Couple weeks, yeah.
Yeah. Well, good luck with it. I do hope that things go as well as they can. And, you know, this pandemic stuff, this whole thing, it obviously wears on a lot of people. We know that there's people that are struggling. There's people whose jobs are struggling, their industries and whatnot. It's tough, but we're all, you know, the majority of people are trying to do the right thing. People are trying to do things to make it better, but it's a constant battle. And let's be honest, the one thing we can all turn to is the television, right?
Always.
Yeah. So I was thinking today, I was like, you know, I know we talk about TV a lot on here. It's supposed to be just kind of all girly type stuff or whatever. But right now, TV is where my link to the outside world is what I feel like. Even though
there's not much going on in the celebrity world.
That's right. There's not much happening because we're just, except for seeing their living rooms whenever they do like a fun video or something online. I mean, that's great, but we've already talked about that. I started thinking about the shows that I've been watching lately, and I was like, you know, I've got some new things that I've been watching I'm going to talk about. I started making a list, and let me just tell you, I think I've gone to the dark side.
Oh, no.
All the shows that I have listed are dark and deep. Like, I'm not sure if it's a sign of quarantine and that I'm not depressed or anything. Like, I mean, for what it's worth, like, things are fine with me, but it's like I'm watching some really deep, dark, and demented stuff. And maybe I need some pick-me-ups. I don't know. I mean, but I'll tell you, I got sucked in on like 4 shows that are my kind of go-tos right now. Don't get me wrong, I'm still watching the silly Bravo, like, housewives and different things that are going across, but I've got 4 shows to discuss today that are uncharacteristically dark for me.
Okay.
But I know you and I chatted earlier, I guess last week or something. You've been watching a new show, is that right?
I have.
Please tell me, is it dark or no?
Oh, no. It's anything but dark. I mean,
okay.
No, it's not dark at all.
Well, maybe I need to hear about this first. So go ahead and enlighten us on how you've been spending your TV time, Janette.
So it's a brand new show. So, you know, not a lot of episodes. And I think maybe 2, I think the next 2 come on today.
Okay.
Tonight. But I have gotten into Celebrity Call Center. It is one of those shows where I found myself laughing out loud.
What is this on?
It is on E,
Okay.
Entertainment Television. So,
okay.
And I just I saw some commercials on it because I binged watched Las Vegas when they had it on for like 4 days straight. And,
yes.
And then they had some other things on E that I, of course, will watch because I'm quarantined. And I'm like, oh, I haven't seen that in a while. And I saw the commercials. So I accidentally flipped to the channel when it was on. And I started watching and I was like, oh my, this is interesting.
What's it all about? I've not seen it at all.
Each segment, they have, I guess each episode's 30 minutes. They have 4 celebrities, and sometimes they're celebrity teams or couples who answer these calls from people who call in. So I guess there's a number where you can call into the Celebrity Call Center, and ask a question or tell them your problem and they will respond. So they'll either answer your question or they'll give you their take on your problem, right?
Okay.
So each call, the four celebrities can see each other and hear each other, so they're a team. But the person who picks up the call, it's like their screen gets highlighted and said, okay, it's time for your call. So like the first episode, it was Kelly Osbourne, and I'm gonna get their names wrong, but she was one of the housewives who's married to the plastic surgeon Heather Dubrow, and her husband, I forget her husband's name, but it's Heather Dubrow and her husband. He does Botched.
Okay. Yeah.
Plastic surgeon. And I cannot pronounce his name. But he is the host of American Ninja Warrior. So it's like Ahmad. It's like an African name, I believe.
Okay.
So, but he was hilarious, and so
And
were
these
Heather.
guys are the ones answering the phone.
These are the ones answering the phone. So people will call in. Sometimes they're pretty risque and sometimes they're pretty tame. But the way they answer these is so off the cuff. And some of them are just so naturally funny that it's like, oh my gosh, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
So like Heather Dubrow and her husband were actually pretty knowledgeable and funny. And I was never really a huge Heather fan on Housewives. I
Yeah.
didn't dislike her, but I wasn't like, ooh, Heather. But on this, I was like, ooh, I want them to be on there more because they are entertaining. I liked the first four that answered questions. They were just funny. And then they might help each other out a couple times. They'll say, I'm bringing in my colleague to help with this one. The second episode was like, I don't know one of them. They're a very famous drag queen. I don't know. I've just recently learned of them on Celebrity Call Center. And the Bella twins, who are wrestlers, and they have their own show. One of the actors from Superstore, and Reza from Shaws of Sunset.
Yes.
And so they answered questions, and it was hilarious.
Now, are they all answering like the same question, or is it different calls, like different segments?
There are different calls. They could help like if Reza, they might, because the four celebrities can see each other, one of the celebrities might be like, ooh, I want to say something. And so Reza would say, my colleague, the Bella twins, want to chime in and they've got something to offer. And so they'll connect.
It's sort of like a big Zoom call.
It's a huge Zoom call, except you can't see the caller. The caller is just on the phone. So there must have been 3 episodes because Alyssa Milano was on it and Nene from Atlanta Housewives. So yeah, it's pretty funny. It's just one of those. Now the calls may be scripted, I don't know, or they may just have people call in with fake things saying fake
stuff.
But you can tell the responses are completely unrehearsed,
non-scripted.
I believe it's completely non-scripted because sometimes they catch each other off guard. They're like, oh, I don't know what to say about this one.
So give me an example of a question.
I'm trying to think of a clean one.
Oh gosh. Hey, then sign me up. I'll watch it.
Well, one of them was just, okay, I'll tone this one down. One of them, someone called in and said that he had fallen for his brother's ex and wanted to know if that was okay to explore and, date her, or would that be something that was just completely frowned upon? And I think his brother had dated this person for some time. And so they were all like, no, you can't do that, right? Like, no, you cannot date your brother's ex-girlfriend. So that's one of the tame ones. I'm trying to remember some of them. Some of them I just, some woman was like, some of them are a little too risky. I'm trying to figure out how to tone them down.
You're like, you're just going to have to watch for yourself.
Yeah. I'm like, just tune in tonight. It'll come on tonight.
While you've been talking, I went to my YouTube TV app and added it to my shows. So I will watch and offer feedback.
One of the funniest parts of it is not even when they're giving feedback to the caller. It's when the other people who are muted while the celebrity's talking to the caller, it's their reactions and their commentary on the back end.
Yeah.
And then they'll discuss the call in between calls. So they'll finish a call and they'll be like, oh boy. And then so they'll talk about it like, oh, you either handled that perfectly or
fun.
yeah. Or I wanted to say, or I didn't know what to say. I was glad I didn't get that call. Right. So some of them are pretty serious because I think Reza got one where he was talking about some guy wanted to come out to his dad, but he knew that it might alter their relationship just because he knew how his dad felt about things. So Reza gave like this very heartfelt feedback, told him, what he would recommend because he had been through the same thing. Mm-hmm. So you can tell that some of these calls are screened for the specific celebrities. The Bella twins, they're both pregnant. So they got a woman calling in about being pregnant and some things she's experiencing with that. So
right. So, okay.
So they obviously match the calls to who they think would have answered appropriately. But it's pretty funny.
Well, I will absolutely check that out. Like I said, I've already added it to my recordings. So maybe that will make its way in and break up some of my deep, dark shows that I'm watching.
I'm concerned. I need to hear about these shows.
Okay. So let's see. What shall I start with? All right. The first one is on Amazon Prime the first 5 seasons are on Amazon Prime. Season 6 is on Netflix. And it's called Alone. And this is basically they take 10 people and drop them in a remote region somewhere in the United States. Well, in North America right now. And they basically drop them off. And then each person is given 4 cameras. Now, each of these 10 people are spaced out so far from each other and separated by unpassable things such as mountains or water or something that cannot be crossed. So therefore, these 10 people do not see each other either. But they know that there's 10 of them. And then it becomes the last person standing wins money. Mm-hmm. But it's not fun like Survivor, where they're playing games and challenges and stuff. The challenge is don't get eaten by a bear. Because
I love this show.
Okay, so season 1, which is on Amazon Prime, you meet these 10 people and they get dropped off. They're all separate, and they're in Vancouver Island, Canada, which is beautiful, but it's super remote, and it in the sort of forest area. It's very rainy. It's very cold. And it's very, very heavily populated by wildlife.
Yes.
Meaning wolves, cougars, bears. And in fact, while you're watching the show, they'll have some little graphics that come up on the screen and give you facts about what you're seeing. And Vancouver Island has over 7,000 bears that are roving in this forest alone. Mm-hmm. And these 10 people, they're each allowed to bring 10 items with them. So it could be a knife. It can be a bow and arrow. It can be these different type of things that they've prepared for because they're like survivalists.
Right.
But then when they're dropped off, they're given these 4 cameras. One of them has to be set up as a night motion sensor that pops on, and then the others are like camcorders. And then they just have to record themselves. So there's no production out there, no crew, no nothing.
Yes.
And it starts immediately with these, season 1 is all men, but from what I understand is as you go further along, there's women in other seasons. Yeah. But these men, here they are showing their camera, and it's like they look at the they look at the camera as soon as the boat leaves and they're like, I think I've made a mistake, because it's not like a campground. It's not like
It's wilderness.
they're not walking through like
Not a beach. It's not. Yeah, they're not on a beach where.
That's right. They're not like, even when they go in the woods, there's not like trails.
No.
Right? This is super thick, super dense brush, and they're exhausted from just walking through it and having to weave their way through it to even find open areas. And then whenever they find an open, cleared area, it's because it's a game trail. And that means bears and every other animal have used this so much that they walk on it that it's flattened out.
And they always find like scat or something so that they know, oh yeah, they definitely travel this.
Yeah, like one guy's walking along and he's like, oh, look, here's an open area. And then he steps down in a big pile of bear crap.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, cool. It's a game trail. There's bears right here. And then he's walking and he hears something and he sees all these dead fish heads and fish and stuff cleaned out all on like a trail. And it leads to a bear den.
Oh my God.
And he's like, this is a bear den. And he looks around and in the trees, he films a mama bear with like 5 cubs up in the tree, just watching him.
What?
Yeah. And he's like, I got to figure out where to put up shelter. So then this is like day 1. And he's like, I don't know where I can put shelter. I got to protect myself against these animals, but I got to have shelter first. So they go and people try to put up their shelter, and see, the whole time it's edited between this to where you're seeing clips from different guys throughout the whole location. So you're at Joe's area and you just see him kind of plowing through, and he's come across a good area. And so he maybe has a flat area that he's setting up his shelter, but yet all the wood is super wet because it's so rainy there that he can't start a fire. So now he's struggling to have a fire and he's freezing and he can't boil water to make it safe because he's just sitting on murky area of water and he knows it could be harmful to him. So he's got that struggle. But then you go over to Lucas's tent, and Lucas has a great shelter. He's set it up. He's built this awesome area, but he has no fire and he can't find water, so he can't even find anything. Another guy has found some snails that he's going to cook tonight, but he can't set up camp because he can't find a place that doesn't have bear tracks all around it. And so you're just going through these Blair Witch style home videos, essentially. And I get so hemmed up. Like, I'm super tense watching it.
Yeah, it is intense.
They get one, they each get a satellite radio. Mm-hmm. And the only way that they use it is to tap out. They basically have to say like, nope, I'm done. There's no time limit on it. It's not like Survivor, the TV series, where you have 40 days or whatever it is. This is last man standing. Like, it goes for months.
Yeah. I've watched the first season. I really do like this show. I've seen
I do too.
It's almost like, for anyone who maybe watches Naked and Afraid, it's Naked and Afraid in the tundra, because they're always dropped off in somewhere that's cold, where Naked and Afraid is always dry and arid and they can wear no clothes, right?
Yes.
Swampy, different types of danger. You're looking for gators and snakes at that point. Yes. This one I have seen. So what I like about it is it's not random people like you and I signing up for this thing. These are all people who are like, yeah, I'm a survivalist.
These are survivalists.
They all feel like, yeah, no problem, I can do this. And then they get out there and be like, yeah, I'm a survivalist, but this is a little much.
This is insane.
And then I think it was the first season. The winner had built this like elaborate shelter compared to some people who are just using tarp over trees. So you're like, he practiced and he came prepared.
Yes.
So, and there are definitely women. What season are you on, did you say?
I just did season 1.
Okay. So there are women, and they're pretty tough. I mean, much tougher than me, that's for sure. But
100%.
like, there'll be episodes where some will not want to tap out but get injured, and like you said, there's no one around. It's not like Survivor where they call in the medic and say, hey, can you help them out? Can they continue to go? Once they get on that radio and say, I'm done, they're done. So like, if you have a fish hook and it gets caught in your skin and you can't get it out and it starts to get infected, and it's either lose your hand or finger or tap out, then you got to tap out, right?
Well, and there's somebody too that I've seen that did they tried to filter water. And it's like the day after they drank all this filtered water, they were like, yeah, that wasn't filtered. I'm sick. This is bad. Yeah. Like, this is not good for me, you know? And then, you know, the predators are what the biggest people are scared of, right?
They can't let their fire go out. They can't let their fire go out because they actually can hear whatever it is walking outside their tent all the time. Especially
so in the very first episode, it shows again somebody who claims to be a survivalist, somebody that does this, you know, willingly because he feels experienced in it, and he gets out there and he puts up his little shelter, and he's the one that saw the bear tracks and the bears in the trees and stuff, and he thinks he gets far enough away. He can't get a fire going, so sometimes they say, you know, bears are turned away off a fire, but they can't get a fire going. He doesn't have food. He doesn't have any water. And this is the first night. He's been there like 5 hours, and he lays in his tent or his little makeshift tarp thing. And he's got his night vision camera on him, and he's laying there with a blade in his hand, like just wide-eyed, trying to go to sleep, but he can't go to sleep because he keeps hearing things like rustle outside and wolves howling and things like that and animals fighting. And then he says, wait, what's that?
This podcast is sponsored by Jackson Creative, a custom communication agency located in downtown Hickory, North Carolina, specializing in online content creation. To learn more, visit thejacksoncreative.com. Jackson Creative, we tell your story.
What's that? And the camera that he has on the tree outside that shows the night vision motion stuff shows 3 bears sniffing at his feet in the tent. And he's like, bear, hey bear. And he starts talking, and the bear like leave, but he's in there panicking. And I mean, spoiler alert, but he wakes up in the morning and says, nope, I'm done. He says, you know, he said, I knew that there were going to be predators out here. He's like, but I'm not prepared to be stalked. And that's what was happening, you know? And like another guy, his area was so dense and so thick of brush and everything that he couldn't find anywhere to sleep, basically, and set up a camp. And so he had to like pack up his stuff, and at dusk, he's walking across as far as he can to another area of the island so that he can find just something that might have water and a little bit of open area for him to build a shelter in, because it was that thick. He was exhausted and he didn't have any water. So he's already starting to get dehydrated after like 3 days of being there, you know? And I mean, it's unbelievable. The things, I mean, you hear these big guys, like they're straight up scared.
Oh yeah. Who wouldn't be?
Yeah, I know.
You realize that you're truly alone, because I mean, it's different from being a survivalist in the woods behind your house, or like,
that's right,
or somewhere, but in an unfamiliar territory, and it's so,
or even somewhere that has been visited and populated at some point. Or
they drop you off where no one is like vacationing, no one goes,
nobody goes. There's no access to it. It's not
right.
You know, they fly a helicopter in. You know, and it's crazy. And it just really makes you think about stuff, because it's like, okay, everybody, you know, you hear about preppers and survivalists and stuff out there that said they could manage if they did this and this and this. But this is a whole different type of managing your life, right? Because if we were to go without today, there's at least developed areas that people can rummage from and make do with things. But this is different. This is not that at all. And we're seeing big, burly, survivalist men get tapping out after 1, 2, 3 days.
Yeah.
And they're
So
like, no, I'm out.
here's something that's exciting. And I think the show does it to see what will happen. So when they're dropped off, they're all dropped off in the general vicinity of each other. So the same location, just spread miles apart.
Yes.
So potentially what could happen is you could meet up with someone else. And at that point, you could decide whether to work together or go at it alone.
Well, and it does say on a graphic, though, that they are purposely placed in areas that are not able to reach the other contestants. So it says that there's either features like water features and stuff, I guess, or unpassable mountains and cliffs or something like that that make it so that nobody's allowed to like meet up because they purposely put them that way.
So I'm pretty sure it's this show, but I won't spoil it for you. One of the people, and I don't remember which season, is determined to find someone. And starts planning and building and creating to do that.
Well,
it's
my
not
kids
against
were
the
watching it with
rules,
me.
but
yeah. Well, my kids were watching it with me because it's super. I mean, it's easy for kids to watch with you. It's not scary.
No, it's not bad at all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not gory or anything like that. It's just intense, right? So my kids are watching it, and of course they're saying all these things and asking questions like, well, why didn't he just do this? And why didn't he just do that? You know, and then we'd explain to them why he didn't.
Yeah.
And, you know, so they of course understood like, wow, this is intense. But, they even had said, you know, like that one guy I was telling you about that realizes his area is too thick and has no water. And so he starts walking to find another area. They even asked, they were like, well, he could, if he just walked further, he'd run into the other guy, you know? And so every season is a different location. And like I said, season 1 was Vancouver Island, Canada. And it's a very remote forest area. And I know other ones, there's like, I think the one on Netflix is like the Arctic or something. So there's definitely different areas that they go through, but it's the production of stuff is neat because it's all their camera work. So they're setting up a camera and talking. And it's one guy even acknowledges it. And I'm glad they showed this because he said, you know, yeah, I know how to do this stuff, but I don't like doing it on camera. Like I'm not used to that. He's like, I got one over here that I'm not really sure how to work. And I did this and all. And he's like, and I'm not even sure if you can see me or not. And so he acknowledges that there's not, he's not comfortable with the camera part of it. And then another guy, he kind of could tell after day three, he was already like going a little squirrely. He starts pretending he's Julia Childs while he's grilling up a squid that he found or something, you know.
I mean, it can't play mind tricks on you. That's
absolutely. That's exactly what it was. Cause my girls were like, what is he talking about? And I'm like, well, he's pretending to be a chef he's grilling up it was a slug. That's what it was. A slug that he found. And he's trying to make it fun. And they were like, well, why is he doing that? He's being silly or something. And I was like, well, yeah, I was like, either he's doing it to entertain himself or he's already starting to lose it a little bit.
I mean, yeah, think about it. You're out there by yourself. No one else to talk to or entertain you or even have your back if something were to attack you.
Yeah.
So your mind is like, it's a mental game as well.
Yeah.
So
it kind of makes me feel better during quarantine is what I'm getting to.
At least you're not alone.
That's right.
So I don't know what season it is, but I think the season finale, it airs on A&E as well.
Yes, it's normally a History Channel
or
production.
History Channel. Okay, History Channel. So I think the finale of the current season is this week, maybe. I haven't seen this season.
Yes.
It's one of those shows that I sometimes forget is on, and then I'm like, oh, I want to watch that. So I'll have to go back and watch the past seasons. But it is very entertaining. I don't think that's too dark, Mary-Margaret. That's just, no, that's not dark.
Well, all right. Well, I've got more for you then.
Okay. Bring it.
Maybe I started with the tame ones. I don't know. Okay, so on HBO, I don't know if you have HBO. I've never really had HBO until they just did HBO Max, which I actually signed up for during quarantine because of some of the stuff that was on it, but they did a bundle rate with my YouTube TV, yada yada, whatever. It's HBO Max, which I'm really loving this enhanced app that they have. So I'm able to watch some of these HBO shows that I've never seen before. But one of them that I'm watching, again, I believe is incredibly dark, is called Succession. Have you heard of it?
Heard of it, never seen it.
Okay. So the basis of it is there is a family that is a media empire family. It's dark in the sense that it's intense. There's some humor in it in the way that some of the characters act, but it's not funny. You know what I'm saying? It's entertaining at that point, but
Yeah.
it's not like ha ha funny. But the general overall feel is that the family has 3, 4 children, and one of them is groomed to kind of take over for the father, who is this media mogul. And the dad is very twisted, and he kind of realizes that the son is not going to be the best person to take over, and so he kind of plots to actually not retire, and the son freaks out about it a little bit, and the son has been in rehab in the past, and then the daughter is very manipulative, and then they have a fourth son who's from like a different mother, and he's kind of off in the wilderness trying to separate from the family, but they're all owners of this business, like on the board, so they have to be involved in all these votes and stuff. And anyway, it's just a ongoing story of this family, but it's super dark. It's super kind of dramatic at points, and just a little bit quirky if you're into that. But Kieran Culkin, Macaulay's brother, plays one of the sons,
Okay.
the youngest, the kind of free spirit son who now realizes he wants to have a piece of this empire as well, and he kind of comes in, but he's the bad one, I guess, and the one that's never done right, you know. And there is the other son that lives out in the country is Alan Ruck. He was the one that played Cameron in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So he's in it, and he's very typical Cameron-esque character, I feel like. But, you know, they all have their little backstories. So each of the children have a weird backstory, and there's lying and manipulating, and none of them, I can't really tell if they all really like each other or not, even though they're blood family and stuff. So again, it's kind of hard to explain because it's just more of a family dynamic type thing, but they're all really mean and nasty in some way. And there's so much manipulation and secrets and lying going on that you never really are quite sure what's going to happen next. Right when you think something's going to happen and they're going to move on to the next thing, they switch it up on you. So it's gotten some acclaim from what I've seen on there. But some of the characters you might recognize face to face. You probably wouldn't know them by names, but it's definitely interesting, and it's intriguing, but it is fairly dark. So Succession, it's not my normal show that I would watch, but for some reason I can't stop. So
Okay.
that's my Succession. That's the next one.
Okay.
Which leads me to the fact, again, I have HBO now. My husband, who does not watch TV, by the way, does not watch TV unless it's sports, which means right now he's not watched TV in forever. Because who knows when sports will be back. But he says that he's going to watch this series, and I was like, okay, well, if you're going to watch a show, let's watch it together, because that's rare. So we are now watching Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
Did you watch any of it? I know it's off now, so we're behind, clearly. But
So I kept hearing about it, and I watched maybe a handful of episodes from season 1 and haven't gone back to it yet. But I'm determined to try it because it's all we heard about while it was on.
yeah.
So I'm like, I need to see what it's all about. It didn't grab me right away, but I was told I need to continue to try and give it a chance and just get into a few more episodes. So
yes.
Yeah, I'll begrudgingly do it at some point, just not now.
Yes. So Game of Thrones, if you get a chance to watch, I agree it did not as well grab me at the very beginning, but Wes, my husband, was so into it that he would almost like pause it and tell me like, oh my gosh, did you just see what happened there? And I'm like, no, he's like, well, here's what they're talking about, and here's what they're doing, which was very helpful. He travels a lot, and so he actually years and years ago did an audiobook version of Game of Thrones. So he's got a little more backstory on some of it and a little more education about what they're talking about. So he's been able to explain, which has been helpful. But it is one of the most, to be a fantasy show, that's really what it is, fantasy. None of this stuff's real. None of this happens ever in real life, no matter when. But it is the most gruesome, X-rated, gory, and kind of crude show I've ever seen.
Huh.
I mean, so much that you're still very hooked to it, of course.
Right.
There's lots of, I can't even, I feel almost embarrassed talking about it, but put it this way. My kids came down and he said, no, you can't watch this show. Right. He said, and I'm going to need you to be at least 18 to watch it. And even at that point, you can't watch it in the same house as me because I can't even think of you guys watching this.
Right. Okay.
So it's the fantasy version of sex.
I saw was kind of like, oh my, they were pearl clutchers. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I'm like stuttering through it because it's just uncomfortable to like talk about out loud.
But it's one of those shows that I have to watch when the kids have already gone to bed, just to make
100%
they don't accidentally walk. Well, Mason, the 1-year-old's not walking in. I mean, he will, but he's just like whatever. But my almost 13-year-old will be like, "What are you watching?
Yeah.
Can I watch it?" Like
same here. So we have a TV kind of in our like main living room, and then we have a TV in our basement. And the TV in the basement was not at the level where you can upload the HBO Max app to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first couple episodes I was watching on the main level living room one, which is where kids can just walk in and out every chance they get.
Right.
I finally told Wes, I was like, we're going to have to figure something else out. I cannot watch it on that main floor because I'm constantly holding my finger on the pause button.
Right.
Like it is intense. It's racy. It's gory. It's so good though.
But Jason Momoa is in it. So, I mean, if you're not going to watch for any other reason, at least watch this episode he's in.
And just when you think you like somebody, they die.
Oh, okay.
Wes told me not to get attached to anybody.
Oh, no.
In the show.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, geez, that's really hard for me, though, because I always kind of stand behind somebody. But so we've only finished season 1. And just if season 1 is any indication of what the level of like sex and violence and blood and stuff I'm going to see moving forward. Like I don't know what to expect. So yeah, there's lots of characters, lots of people to kind of remember, and lots of names that sound a lot alike, but you start to figure it out, and it really does suck you in. And so we kind of wake up thinking about it and talk about it throughout the day, and then make plans to watch it in the evenings. So
Okay.
it's dark. It's not Beverly Hills Housewives, that's for sure. And then my final dark series that I'm watching now was based on a recommendation from one of our listeners, Lynn in Canada, who shares a lot of thoughts with me on shows that we watch. We'll message each other back and forth about some things. She knew that I enjoyed Sons of Anarchy back in the day. Loved that show. Talk about dark and dirty and raw and crude and stuff. But she told me she had found the alternative to this.
Okay.
And she told me that it was on Netflix. So I went to go look for it. And it turns out that it was only on Netflix Canada, which I didn't realize was a
didn't know that was a thing. I thought
didn't know that was a thing.
Worldwide.
I know, because I wrote her back and I'm like, I don't see it on there. And then she's like, oh, wait, looks like it's only on Netflix Canada. And I'm like, wait,
All right.
you have a different Netflix?
I need to know if Degrassi is on there, because if so, I need to know how to
I
sign up for
knew
Degrassi
you were going to
Canada.
ask that. I knew you were going to ask it. So yeah, turns out we don't get the same stuff, which is a tiny bit disappointing, but I digress. I did find it though on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
So this show is called Animal Kingdom.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was on TNT.
Yes. So it's TNT, and I believe it has been renewed. There's 4 seasons,
What?
but I think it's been renewed for more. So all 4 seasons are on Amazon Prime. And I quickly became obsessed with this show, as Lynn promised I would. It is a little mix of Sons of Anarchy
What?
mixed with Point Break,
What?
like surfing robbers and stuff, right? And the boys are so pretty to look at in the show. The mom is played by Ellen Barkin. Everyone would recognize her if you see her, if you don't know her name. But Ellen Barkin plays the sick and twisted mother of a crew of boys. Pretty much all of them by separate dads. One of them is not even a blood relative. He's adopted. And then one of them is a grandson. So there's this core group of boys and men, I guess. And she runs a robbery. I don't even know what to call it, like a ring, like a they don't go and kill people. They don't kill people. So that's where it's a lot different than Sons of Anarchy. Like Sons of Anarchy had a lot of blood, a lot of guns, a lot of all of that. These guys just do small jobs to make money. And by jobs, I mean robbing banks or robbing the store around the corner, whatever it is. And they go through this research and they plot out what they're going to do. They know their little schemes, and then they launder the money through their real estate businesses. And I'll tell you what, Lynn did not tell me, even though she had me hooked when she said, it was like Sons of Anarchy. But she didn't tell me that Scott Speedman was in it, a.k.a. Felicity Heartthrob.
So I've never seen the series. I think I watched part of one episode and I was completely lost because it was like season 3 or something. I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Yes.
But it has always been one of those that I was like, that looks like something I would like, but I just never really took the time to figure out when it was on. But the reason I wanted to watch, I was like, ooh, Felicity guy's in it.
Yes.
Watch that. So
Ben from Felicity.
I was like, yes, I need to watch. Because, him and the other Felicity guy, I'll watch whatever they're in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I was hooked from that point.
Well, I'll give it a go.
You should. So truly just starting season 1, it's like I said, they've tamed it down enough that you could watch this on TNT, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, TNT does push the envelope a little bit when it comes to like the raciness of stuff. Little bit of nudity, little bit of like suggestive stuff, but nothing is extreme hardcore, right?
Right.
And then again, like I said, less blood, less gore. And this show's super intense. But it's the family dynamic is really where the show is. Like that's what people are interested in. That's what is intriguing. And quite honestly, I enjoy it because it makes me feel like my family is the most normal family in the world. And that during quarantine, we're very, very wholesome.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's crazy. Now, the scenery is beautiful. These boys are surfers. One of the sons is a former surf champion. One of them's been in prison because he took the rap for a job that they got busted doing. But he's kind of got some like mental issues that he's really working through. One son is just kind of the screw up, if you will. And then there's sort of the leader of the sons, and the mom is just a pure evil, conniving. They have such a weird relationship that she has raised them in that it's incredibly uncomfortable to watch her with them.
Huh.
And she plays that role in such a creepy manner that it's kind of gross, but it's intriguing. So I highly, highly recommend if you liked anything of Sons of Anarchy, if you like anything that's sort of a crime, mastermind, twisted family issues, this show is for you. It's actually based off a book. That's like I don't remember. I don't know when it came out, and I think they did a movie on this in Australia not a long time ago, but several years ago. And since that movie and book had success, this is the TV show that came from it.
Huh. Okay.
So, yeah. So definitely go check it out, Animal Kingdom, and settle in for some dark topics.
So I'll lighten it up a bit.
Please do.
I think since the last time we spoke, our Disney Plus released Hamilton. And I have been watching and singing Hamilton ever since it was released on July 3rd. So
I agree. I have done that as well. So yes, that is a light spot of everything. But yes, please move on. I have thoroughly enjoyed having that at my fingertips.
My daughter enjoyed it as well until mom started singing the songs around her every day and saying, sing it with me. She's like, no, you're ruining Hamilton, Mom.
That's right. It's so clever. It's so well done. And I'm so grateful that he being Lin-Manuel Miranda, has agreed to release it to the public.
Yes, because it was supposed to come out in theaters in November, I believe, or October. But, with quarantine, they released it to Disney. And initially I had heard it was just for that weekend. And then he said, nope, it's there for whenever, till whenever. And then ever since then, everything's popping up Hamilton again, right? So it's almost like the re-release of it when it first came out, and tickets were like $1,000 a ticket for the nosebleeds or whatever. So
yeah,
it's amazing. And the whole time I kept thinking, I've got to find more like this for my kid because she's into this and she knows and she can recite it. And why weren't my teachers this cool and teach me this way about history?
I know.
I just had to read and take notes and be like, yeah, John Adams and Alexander Hamilton, fine. But I've learned so much more about him since.
I have too. And Wes is such a history buff, and he loves all this history, and he can soak it up, and he retains it all, and he remembers all this stuff. And so he we actually got tickets to see the off-Broadway tour production of Hamilton in Charlotte, North
Okay.
Carolina. So Wes and I went. Wes dozed off halfway through the play.
What?
Yeah, I know. And then, he acknowledged that it was good, but it was the cadence, the cadence and the rapping and stuff throughout that I think put him almost in a trance.
Okay.
And he did not know any of the music going into it. I just naturally, through entertainment sources, knew some of the songs or the beats and stuff at least. But now, since it's come out on Disney Plus, he still has not watched it. I don't think he has much interest in it in a musical sense of things. However, we've had many discussions about the history parts that I have learned throughout. And he will, he's acknowledged, he's like, what a great thing that people are actually taking a little more interest in history side of things because of this.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth, yes, it's entertaining. Yes, it's got great songs. Yes, these actors are amazing, but they're telling a true story, and they're telling about somebody that was pretty important in the shaping of our country.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very appropriately timed thing for us to watch as well, I believe.
Yeah. So my daughter and I watched it the day it came out, and the first, probably into the third song, she looks at me and she goes, are they going to sing the entire time? I was like, yes, they are singing the entire. I was like, there might be a little sentence or something here that's spoken, but yes, there will be music throughout. Pay attention. So Mama needs to learn the words.
And it's glorious.
Right.
So
she
enjoy
was
it.
First so we watch it, and then she goes, when the intermission thing came on, she goes, okay, I need a break. And this is really long. So that was day one. She has followed and been like, okay, I need to watch it again. I need to watch it again. But yeah, Mom's been a little over the top with it.
Yeah, I hear you. I've got the soundtrack on my Spotify now. I sing it in the car. I find myself humming things throughout the day. I get Hamilton things now on my timeline because clearly
I do too.
The internet knows that I've been looking at it. Right. So
I think I've followed everyone on Instagram that's in the cast. I'm pretty sure. I'm a stalker. I'm a stalker by this point.
Same here. But so yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh my gosh. So the song I've been singing this week, and I think it's because it came up in something, is the it's not called Unimaginable, but that's what I call it. Anyway, it's right after their son is shot, and there's that song where they move uptown. It's Quiet Uptown. I think that's what the song is called. It's Quiet Uptown.
Yes.
And so I'll listen to it, and towards the end of the song, I'll start crying. And she's like, Mom, I was like, you don't understand. Wait until you have kids.
That's right.
This hits. I was like, I don't care how many times I hear this song. When it gets to that part about what they're going through, I will shed a tear, because until you have children, you will not understand the meaning of that song.
That's right. That's right. And, and so much of the stuff, how they've made it relatable, right? Is super intense. It makes it really powerful to watch. I do have to admit, I love the humor in it too.
Oh, yeah.
It keeps it light. I watched Station 19, which has Dean in there, who you would never on Station 19. I really didn't picture him as being, in Hamilton, but he plays a great part of Hercules Mulligan and James Madison. And, but my favorite person is Daveed Diggs for sure.
Yes.
And he plays Lafayette as well as Thomas Jefferson, which Thomas Jefferson's role in this is brilliant.
It's hilarious.
I just can't give it enough praise. And for anyone who hasn't seen it before, if you need a Disney password to watch it for a day or so, give me a message. I'll let you see it, because I want people to see it that much.
Yeah, and like that whole cast, except the leading cast, except for the men, except for Lin-Manuel Miranda, have gone on and they're on regular pro TV. Like Denise
Yes.
Diggs was in Blackish and I think still guest stars, but he's got
Yes.
his own show on TNT now. I think it's called Snow Rider or something.
Yes, and he's also done Snowdrifter.
Snowdrifter.
And he's also done some movies.
Yes, and he's done movies. And the guy who plays George Washington is on Bull.
Which he's phenomenal. It makes me cry every time I watch it.
Yeah, and I've read so many backstories about like what's actually happening that I have to watch it again to see it.
Same.
And the guy who plays his son Philip and also plays John Lawrence,
Anthony Ramos.
Yes, he's in. I think it's a cable show, and it might even be on like HBO, Showtime, or something like that. But he's in a show called She's Gotta Have It. It might be like Netflix or something, but he's in something else, and you'll see him in commercials as well. But
yes,
I mean they're all talented, and she was confused too about them playing different roles at first too. Like after intermission, they're different people. Then she got it, but we've been talking about theories, and the second time we'll watch George Washington hang his head when Eliza's at the end talking about defending slavery, and we've had discussions on what does the gasp mean at the end and which theory I've landed on, and which she's like, oh yeah, I think that might be true, and so we've had in-depth discussions just about that, and then watching after we read things or I see things online, like, oh, I have to watch it because I missed that. I didn't catch that when I first saw it. So it's always
I've done the exact same thing. The little clickbait articles that come across my social media feeds, I click on all of them.
Oh, me too.
I take the bait because I want to know these insider things. One of my favorites is when in the play, the multiple times that I've watched it, I've never noticed it until they told me to, but is when Eliza reads the letter from John Lauren's dad to Lin-Manuel Miranda. And at the same time that he's being read the letter, you see Lafayette and Jane and Hercules Mulligan receive letters as well while they're up on the balcony.
What?
Yes.
Okay, I have to watch it. Now I have to watch it again for the 50th.
I know it's dark and you have to look for it, but they receive letters at the same time, which just makes me really appreciate the bond that those guys had.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that there was a character who was actually playing the bullet. I was like, what?
Yes.
That blew my mind. I was like,
now, the lady that plays the bullet is going to be starring as, what's the girl's name in, they're doing a live musical version of West Side Story.
Uh-huh.
And the one that sings, I want to be an America.
Maria? No, not Maria. No. Anita.
Yeah. She plays Anita.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, the girl that plays the bullet is going to be Anita. And then Anthony Ramos, who, like we said, plays John Lawrence, he is going to be starring in the live version of In the Heights.
Oh, okay.
As the original character that Lin-Manuel Miranda started.
Oh.
So, yeah. So there's a whole bunch
of shows to come to Disney Plus so I can see them.
I agree. I would support that petition.
So I can sing more songs to annoy my kid. There's nothing I enjoy more.
Absolutely. I'm on board with the embarrassment of my child at any point that I can get. Got to keep my teenager in line, 13 years old. Got to keep her in check.
I will come to your school and I will sing. I will get on virtual TV. I will get on virtual learning. And
you wait till you're on your next Zoom call. I'm coming in singing, taking away my shot. That's for sure.
That's right.
Yeah, you talk back to me one more time. Well, thank you for bookending my dark stories. You've got lighthearted ones on each end, and I really appreciate that. That's why we're on this show together, Janette. That's why our friendship is golden.
Absolutely.
You're like my pony boy.
Stay golden.
Yes. All right, so we've taken up enough people's time, but of just going on about what we're watching during a pandemic. This is where we've come to. Is I don't have much other entertainment news. I'm sure there's stuff out there, but might as well just get some of these little hidden gems out there if people have not seen them. So we each have homework now of what we need to go watch and need to check out. And we will report back, of course. But in the meantime, I do hope that you and your family fare well through all of this starting up school. And of course, to everyone out there listening, no matter what situation you're in, the best part about these TV shows is that your life is always going to be better than them.
That's right.
I mean,
Right.
if you need a pick-me-up during a pandemic, go watch a dark, evil show.
Yeah.
It's amazing how great you'll feel afterwards. So if you need something else to take up your time, be sure to check out all the other shows that the Mesh.tv has to offer. It's a podcast network with all kinds of things, including entertainment podcasts with comedy sections. We have some educational ones. We have ones that are just for the guys, ones that are just for the girls, some that can cross every line. And we really hope you go check those out and support the Mesh by downloading and subscribing. You can also find us on Instagram, ChickChat. We put up just pictures to make you laugh, just to help you pass the time. And we really would like to thank our sponsor for this episode, Time Genies. I have spoken about them at length before, Janette, but I can't say enough about Time Genies in Hickory, North Carolina, and the services that they offer. They are a concierge service. They'll do any kind of chore you need, help you pack up boxes, help you organize closets, run and pick up your dry cleaning, dog sit, clean your house, whatever you need. But Time Genies, you can find them on Facebook and on the internet all over time-genies.com. And please go check them out and give them big thanks for supporting the Mesh and for being the host of ChickChat. All right, guys, that's it. That's all I got for you. Janette, take it easy. Moose, thanks for producing. And everybody at home listening, thanks for checking us out. We'll catch you on the flip side.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.